Hello, I'm Ken Davis, a former Lower Merion Township Commissioner and now Chairman of the Township's Cable Television Advisory Committee. My guest today is Nancy Scarlato, Executive Director of the Ardmore Initiative. This organization is charged with enhancing and improving business development in Central Ardmore, mostly along Lancaster Avenue. Nancy, welcome. Great to have you.
Thanks for having me.
Sure. You've been involved with business development in Ardmore for some time. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came to that involvement.
Well, I came to Ardmore Initiative in 2006 in the capacity of a board member, where I joined the board after bringing the Junior League of Philadelphia thrift shop to the old Harrison's department store in Ardmore. And bringing a new business into the area, I was tapped for a board position, which seemed like interesting way to get involved with what was going on in Ardmore, so I accepted. And then through a variety of transitions that happened in the Ardmore Initiative office, when our former executive director retired, I was in a good position to step up and take that position.
Great. I'm glad to have you. The Ardmore Initiative is actually a state-recognized authority. Now, that's authority with a capital A. And you're empowered to levy certain real estate assessments separate and apart from the township government. How does that work?
Well, when the Ardmore Initiative was actually founded as a number of different names, Ardmore 2000, the Ardmore Business District, and this was in 1988. The township got together and said, we need to do something about improving the situation in Ardmore. There were a lot of vacant storefronts, and the streetscape wasn't very attractive and appealing. And in order to do that, they designated Ardmore as, they drew boundaries and they designated as a Main Street program. And that was in 1988. And then in 1993, the township gave us the additional power of, and the state actually, becoming a municipal authority. So by becoming a municipal authority, we were able to levy assessments against properties that are located within the boundaries of the business district.
Mm-hmm. And it's worked out pretty well so far?
We've been around for 32 years,
Wow.
so I think we're going strong. I think it's been a very successful. We've been designated as a Main Street program a number of times, but the assessments really allow us to pay attention to streetscape, business improvements, sidewalks, planters, bike racks, things like that.
Well, let's talk about that. The Ardmore Initiative actually operates as a special services district. Talk about some of those services that you provide, such as streetscape, traffic, and safety, pedestrian safety improvements.
Well, we are able, by virtue of our organizational status, to get grants from the Department of Community and Economic Development, and also we get grants from Housing and Urban Development. So some of the things that we have done with grants is we've had a very successful facade improvement grant program where with the grant money that we've received from DCED, we give grants of up to $5,000, matching grants, up to $5,000 to various businesses to improve their storefront. And the result has been pretty remarkable. I'd say there are probably somewhere over 30, 35 businesses in Ardmore that have benefited from our storefront improvements.
Well, yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute. That's very good. Now, your special services district is actually defined and delineated on a map. Can you generally describe the area that's covered by the district?
Sure. Lancaster Avenue would be sort of like the backbone of the business district. The train station or the train tracks on the north, we do not go north of the train tracks, but we go east as far as little bit past where the Toyota dealership is and the Acme, and then to the west we go almost to Haverford College. It's Wyoming Avenue, I think it is. And then some of the streets that are off of Lancaster Avenue are included: Greenfield Avenue, tiny bit of Ardmore Avenue, Cricket Avenue and Rittenhouse Place.
Now, the retailers that you serve in Ardmore are facing some tough competition from the malls and internet shopping. How are the stores in Ardmore meeting that competition, and what does the Ardmore Initiative do to help them out?
Well, I think one of the things that we focus on is when we bring people to Ardmore for events, we would hope that they would look around them while they're coming to one of our events and go into the stores that are there. One of the things that we are focusing on in our strategic plan is experiential retail. How can we help businesses find a way to bring people into their stores? Do they have a family-friendly? Do they have a little table and chairs with coloring books where kids can sit while parents shop? Do they have a local or other expert come in to talk about some of the products that they have? Do they have personal shopping? And I think those are things that it's a different type of experience, but it's an experience that you can't get through internet shopping.
Yeah, or in a mall, pretty much.
Right.
Right. The revitalization of downtown Ardmore has been going on for quite a while, but things seem to be accelerating, picking up with the completion of the One Ardmore Place apartment building on Cricket Avenue, and also with the long time coming construction of the new train station. What do you think Ardmore is becoming now that it's such a hot property?
Well, I think it's great that took a little while, but I think it's great that 25, 30 years into this, that people are recognizing the things that Ardmore have, which is proximity to Philadelphia, but it's also which you can get to from the train station, but it's also a place in and of itself. So we have almost little bit less than 20, maybe 17,000 square feet of new retail coming to Cricket Avenue, not even Lancaster Avenue. So that's an exciting place to be, where you have, once people come, there is a place that's here. And it started a lot by what I would call our restaurant renaissance. There are restaurants of every possible nationality, and I think restaurants bring people here, and people see that, and business owners see that people are coming here, and so our hope is that we'll have some really exciting retail on Cricket.
We'll talk about restaurants in a minute, because that is an exciting thing, but this new retail space that you're talking about, this is actually space that does not used to be retail.
Exactly. There will be, in the new building on Cricket Avenue in the One Ardmore, there will be 3 brand new retail spaces. And on the other side of the street, Cricket Flats, there will be 3 or 4, depending on how they're the tenants that they choose.
Yeah. With all the attention that Ardmore is now getting, new residents, new shoppers, parking is a challenge, has been for some time. What's the initiative doing with the businesses and with the township to deal with the parking challenge?
Well, I think the thing we have to recognize is that we like the businesses in Ardmore that are on the street. If you wanted to go to the mall, you pull up outside of the store, you pull up and you park. That is not what you would do if you were in Philadelphia. You wouldn't expect to find a parking spot right outside of the restaurant or the store that you wanted to go to. So I think it's a little bit of a mindset shift. In addition, there is a brand new parking garage, which is free after 6 p.m. and costs $1 an hour.
This is the new parking garage at
Yes.
One Ardmore Place.
One Ardmore Place.
Which is right off Cricket Avenue?
Right off of, you enter off of Cricket Avenue. It's 217 spots or something like that. So it may not be centrally located on Lancaster Avenue, but there really is parking in Ardmore. And now One Ardmore Place opened in April of 2019, and now with all these additional spots, I think we're going to be okay.
So it's a question of educating drivers to where the parking is, to make sure that they're directed to the garage.
We've the SEPTA parking lot closing caused a lot of challenges. Most of the people who were parking there were not SEPTA permit holders, so they really shouldn't have been parking there anyway. But we've provided the businesses in that area with a parking map that we've done, which is very easy to read. Soon you will see with the train station construction on their construction fencing, a big map that shows where parking is located in Ardmore. And we provide our parking map to any of the businesses who want it to hand out to their customers.
So the lot that's now, the temporary lot that's now at Ardmore Avenue and Lancaster Avenue, that'll be closed and you're going to transition to the new parking at some point?
Well, the SEPTA parking lot was located on, obviously, Station Avenue, which right next to the train station, and that closed before the end of the year. So SEPTA relocated their temporary parking to Ardmore and Lancaster Avenue, and that, I believe, will remain until the lot is finished.
I see.
Or the station is finished.
Right. One of the principal functions of the Ardmore Initiative is marketing, getting people to know more about Ardmore and to patronize its stores and participate in activities. And of course, to come here to live and to work. Can you describe your marketing efforts, especially social media, where so many people get their information today?
Well, the easiest thing that we find is that when we have events, just getting the word out about these events. If we have 2,500 people at Oktoberfest, we had 1,000 people at a brand new event that we had this year called Winter Wonderland. So if we can get the word out early and often, and we do use Instagram and Facebook mostly to do that. We don't really have a Twitter presence, but we go through social media. We do paid advertising in the Mainline Times, and we also use Mainline Today, the magazine, and advertise at Bryn Mawr Film Institute. So we have a variety of different platforms that we go to. We are less successful at getting into Philadelphia events. Events or their social media, but I think we do a good job in getting out to
So the message is getting out slowly but surely, and I think you can see that in the attendance at the various events that you that you have. I want to talk about Suburban Square for a minute now. That's not part of the business district, is that correct?
It is not.
On the other side of Lancaster Avenue along Montgomery Avenue, they have had a separate and distinct identity for many, many years. How do you work with them on promoting Ardmore generally?
Well, I think from our point of view on our side of the tracks, because literally we are on the other side of the tracks than Suburban Square. From our side of the tracks, we promote everything that people are doing in Ardmore. And if you come to Ardmore and get off the train in our neighborhood, we hope that you'll go to both sides of the tracks. We have a very good relationship with the general manager of Suburban Square, but she's not going to promote shopping somewhere else other than Suburban Square. So we try to coexist. We try to plan things where we can take advantage of for a winter holiday event, we might do something on Friday night and they might do something on Saturday night. So we'll just make sure we keep people coming.
So you try not to compete with each other in terms of these events and activities.
But I will say that Santa does come to Ardmore very frequently in December.
Good to know. The Ardmore Initiative does sponsor a number of these community events, some of which you've already mentioned throughout the year. And they're all geared to attract people to Ardmore. I'd like to talk about each one of them, if you could, so that our viewers get a better sense of what's available and when these events take place. First, you mentioned a little bit about restaurants. You do have a restaurant week. Talk about that for a minute.
Well, we have a restaurant week that's the last 2 weeks in July, because that's when we find is a slow time for the restaurants in this area, since many people have vacation plans or they head to the shore for the summer. So we thought we would do a restaurant week during a time when restaurants were less busy. We had about 20 restaurants participate in the past couple of years. It's a $15, $25, and $35 three-course menu, and all the menus are on our website. And last year we added lunch, which was kind of successful, but it's less likely that you have more neighboring people come to Ardmore for dinner than you possibly would for lunch.
Right.
So, but it's been very successful. The restaurants like it. It's a good way for us to promote what's happening in Ardmore. And this past year, because of the timing of the way it worked out, we had a Bastille Day celebration that happened between two French restaurants in Ardmore that happened to be right across the street from each other, and that kicked off Restaurant Week.
Obviously, the restaurants will buy into this if they see that it's been a plus for their business. Did they report back to you when it was over to let you know that it went well or things that they could do differently?
They always are very vocal about what works and what doesn't always work. I think we've been fortunate to have a number of new restaurants open. So in the time, the almost 2 years that I've been at Ardmore Initiative, we've probably had almost a dozen restaurants open. So not all of them have past experience with the Restaurant Week and are able to say, well, this was different this year than last year. But I think all of them find that it's something that's beneficial to them.
When one Ardmore place was underway before it was opened, the view was that this was going to put more people on the street, especially at night for dinners and whatever. Has that come to be? Are we now seeing more people on the street, especially at night?
I think we are. I mean, I lived in Ardmore in the early 2000s, and people were uncertain about, Ardmore, what happens there? And there was less going on than there is now. I am frequently surprised at the number of people I see walking to and from the train station. So as transit-oriented development, it really is doing that. It's really exciting to see people walking around on the streets at night, to have restaurants in Ardmore that you can't get into because you didn't make a reservation early enough is really a great place for us to be.
How about Oktoberfest? That's obviously something that everybody knows about. They may not know that you have one in Ardmore, but along Cricket Avenue and Schaffel Plaza, that little park area in the middle of town, you've got any number of bars and restaurants that participate in that. Tell us about Oktoberfest and how it's going.
Well, Oktoberfest moved from Cricket Avenue, which is very congested because of construction right now, and we expanded into Schaffel Plaza, which is a parking lot, and it was very successful in its newly reincarnated form. Ardmore Oktoberfest is not like anybody else's Oktoberfest because we have a very family-friendly community. So if you anticipate that you're going to be drinking beer with fraternity boys, that is not the case. We have a moon bounce, we have face painting, we have games for kids, we have all kinds of things. And people bring their families, their dogs. People dress up in lederhosen and enjoy a day outside. And fortunately, the weather has supported us recently, but we probably have somewhere close to 2,500 people who come.
That's great. Along the discussion of food, you've got Taste of Ardmore also. Talk about that for a minute.
So Taste of Ardmore is in its 12th or 13th year, I think. Last year we had it on the rooftop deck of one Ardmore place, and we have about 24 purveyors of food and drink come, and it's a ticketed event. So you buy a ticket and then you come and you eat and drink your way through all the different vendors for as long as you choose, for not more than 3 hours. So, and there's free parking right in the building. This year, it looks like we're going to be having it there again. I think the date is June 11th, but it's all on Destination
Yeah.
Ardmore.
Great. And Cricket Kringle, that's a relatively new one.
Well, Cricket Kringle changed a little this
Yeah.
year. The originator of it did not want to proceed, so we created a new event called Winter Wonderland. It's a little bit different in that it took place throughout downtown Ardmore. We had an antique trolley that made 5 stops throughout downtown. People collected stamps on their Ardmore passport and then entered to win prize, which was a gift card at one of the participating vendors. We had fire pits and s'mores making in Schaffel Plaza, so that we had lots of kids who were sticky with marshmallows running around. Of course, Santa came again, and we also had Elsa and Olaf, who are characters from Frozen, and music performances.
That's great.
and
So there's
things
a
like
lot to do
There's-
throughout the year in Ardmore.
Yes.
Now, you're a private organization, yet you do depend on important relationships with the township and with the state. Can you talk about some of those relationships and the kind of support you do receive?
Well, we are organized underneath the auspices of Lower Merion Township, and it's all something very complicated that's in the Municipal Authorities Act. The Township Board of Commissioners approves our board members. The township has to apply for certain grants that we receive
On your behalf.
on our behalf,
Yeah.
that the municipality has to apply. So we are one of 2 business improvement districts within the township, the other being half in
City
Lower
Avenue,
Merion, right?
yeah.
The City Avenue district, which is half in the city and half in Lower Merion. But we do rely on support from the township in terms of the grant funding that we get.
So your office is right across the street from the township building, so I assume that you're back and forth and they're back and forth with some frequency.
Yes.
Well, that's good. Now, there's another business organization in Ardmore which is separate from the Ardmore Initiative, and that's the Ardmore Business Association, which is an important player there as well. Can you talk about the Ardmore Business Association? How is it different from the Ardmore Initiative? What does it do, and how do you work with it?
Well, it was interesting to me that there are 2 organizations. I would describe it as our Ardmore Initiative constituents are really the property owners. So if we support the businesses which are in those properties, everything goes well as far as we hope. ABA is more of a networking between businesses. So the businesses who are members have the opportunity to network and support each other in that fashion. We support ABA events. ABA supports Ardmore Initiative events. But because of our virtue of being an organization with paid staff, we are able to apply for grants where an association of members is not really.
So theirs is just a membership organization,
Yes.
whereas yours is defined by the lines of the business district that you and the township set up.
Right.
Now, your board members are all community residents. They either live or work in and around Ardmore. Occasionally, you do seek new board members. If someone who sees this program is interested in becoming a board member of the Ardmore Initiative, what do they have to do?
Well, we have a requirement, again, the Municipal Authorities Act, that 51% of our board members must reside in Lower Merion Township. So it's not just own a business. We do have a residency requirement. We actively look for board members once a year. We usually have a new board class in July. I think they usually start. Board terms are 5 years. If you are interested in participating on our board, have a business in Ardmore within the business district, and some people have to live in Lower Merion Township.
You talked about this a few minutes ago, but I want to go back to it because it's important. The Ardmore Initiative provides financial assistance to businesses and property owners who wish to open or expand or improve on their locations. One of those programs is the Business Assistance Grant, and the other one is the Facade Improvement Grant. Can you talk about both of them a little bit more detail and how people would apply for that assistance?
Sure. The Facade grants are sponsored by the Department of Community Economic Development, which is a state-run program. So we apply for Facade grants, and we can, as Ardmore Initiative, we don't need the township to help us apply for those. And they are a $5,000 matching grant. So if you put $5,000 in for a new awning, I will give you $5,000 and match that. At this point in time, we've spent down our most recent $50,000 of Facade grant funding, so we don't have any money available. But we hope we apply every year, and we may have
How
something.
about the business assistance grant?
So the business assistance grants come under something called community block development,
Which is federal money.
which is federal money that comes from the Housing and Urban Development. So those are larger grants, and the way that we've structured that, the township applies for the funding for that, and then Ardmore Initiative is the subrecipient, and then we give it to a business owner. A newer expanding business in Lower Merion Township, it's a very helpful if it's a business that's somehow supported through our strategic plan. And the other part of that is this is a job creation program. So if you come to Ardmore Business District and you open a business or a restaurant and you hire people who are low to moderate income, we monitor that for a period of 36 months, and you'll get between $20,000 and $25,000.
Wow, pretty good. One final question. The initiative works hard to keep the business district neat and attractive for residents, for shoppers, and the businesses. Talk about the Downtown Beautification program and the funding that you get to provide that service.
Well, the funding that we get for the streetscape improvements is from our assessments. We have a staff right now of 2, but we are looking to hire a few more people on that department who walk around and clean the streets. We have a green machine that scoops up leaves and debris and things like that. And generally speaking, if you see Harry and Victor early in the morning on the streets of Ardmore, wave and say hello, and that's how we handle that.
Great. Well, that's all the time that we have now, so I want to thank Nancy Scarlato for joining us. The Ardmore Initiative website has been displayed on your screen. It's ardmoreinitiative.org, so feel free to be in touch with them. They'd be happy to tell you more. Goodbye for now. And Nancy, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Okay.